My name is Augusta Augustsson, and I'm a printmaker, fiber artist. This is a print, but it's a installation. It's an installation because I'm trying to tell a whole story. My son is a researcher in Tasmania, and he's taking care of kelp forests. He's studying them in a way so that they can be preserved because they um, they shelter all this animal life, and they also take carbon out of the atmosphere. So they're a very important part of our oceans. These are some of the fish in Tasmania. Like this is a leather jacket, and these, I think they're morwogs. Um, the piece is made out of many banners. So you can see it starts here and it keeps going and going and going. I print in a very small basement studio, so I have no idea really what my piece is going to look like until it gets installed. I can't even hang it in my house because it's too big. I don't even see the whole banner all at once because when I hang them to dry, I have to drape it over, and half is on one side and half is on the other. I sometimes put them on the floor so I can get some idea. So I think I know what things are going to look like, but I'm never quite sure. I use a printing process called gelatin printing. It's a soft plate, and it's very easy to do in your home, which is one of the reasons I do it. I used to do silk screen, which was is a whole process. This I can clean up, I can put it down, I can come back to it. Um, it's just so easy to use. I cut stencils. Each one of these fish is a separate printing. They're not all separate stencils. I'll use the same stencils, but each color has to be printed by itself. So it's not like I am doing several fish all at once. I just do one fish at a time. And I have to drop them out of the background to get the fish to, you can see here where I dropped it out of the background ocean so that the fish will stand out. Basically, that's what I do.
Hi, I'm Marin Brown, and I am an artist that lives and works in Northampton, Mass. And I'm really pleased to be here to be part of Eight Visions and grateful to the Attleboro Arts Museum for making this happen. I have been working in egg tempera for about 30 years, and the paintings in this show are entirely composed of egg tempera. So, what is egg tempera? So, a lot of people are really surprised to learn that I create my own paints using egg yolk, pigment, and water. And one of the cool things about egg tempera is that you can um, put lots of different layers on egg tempera, and then the different layers show through on the final painting. So you kind of feel like you're looking through a deep lake at the bottom of the lake, and that's really amazing. The other thing is I create egg tempera in a slightly unconventional way. I usually start my paintings by using plastic that's crumpled up, sea sponges, and other kinds of things that create interesting textures. And then I work into the painting until I'm finished. I'm coming to the end with very, very fine brushes, and all of the materials will be on display in the exhibit. This painting behind me is part of the Manifestation series, which is one of 3 series that I'm showing in the exhibition. And Manifestations comes from this idea that art carries forth the energy of its maker, of the people who take a look at the work in museums like the Attleboro Arts Museum, as well as collectors. And that energy, I felt, is a great kind of way for me to contribute to, in some way, to the healing of this very difficult time that we are in as a nation. And so these paintings are really dedicated to bringing forth energies that I feel are needed right now, like this one, which is about courage. So you can see that my work is abstract, and I love the freedom of abstraction. And it's not, I'm not interested in creating lifelike images, but images that might evoke something lifelike is what I'm seeking. Another series that I brought for the show is my original series, and I have two paintings that are part of that, and it's devoted to the work of DNA. And I am not a scientist, but I was really taken by the fact that 99.9% of all of humanity shares the same DNA, 99.9%. And that 0.1% that's left over makes us entirely unique and unlike any other human being on the planet, which I think is incredible. And so I researched, like many artists who get excited about a project, and I looked in scientific journals and I researched the history of DNA. And the paintings all share imagery that I found in scientific journals of DNA, the actual DNA. We're sort of used to seeing the double helix as an abstraction of DNA, and these were really based on the reality of DNA. And I thought that was really interesting too. DNA is very complicated in its ethical issues. It has a lot of promise, and it's used in lots of different fields. And these paintings are really exploring that theme. The final series that I have on display is a tribute series, and it's a kind of coming home for these paintings. These paintings are dedicated to my former spouse, who was diagnosed with brain cancer and died 5 years ago. And I spent a lot of time here because my spouse grew up in Mansfield, and Pat's family still lives in Attleboro, and so I come here quite a bit and spend time. And so that those two paintings are really a way of kind of a full circle with Pat's life. So with that, I just want to say thank you for coming to the show and for hearing about the thoughts that I have about my work.
Hi, I'm Sharon Cutts. I'm an artist in the Providence, Pawtucket area, Rhode Island. And I've been living in Rhode Island about 20 years. And I have here a painting, a portrait of my granddaughter. And to me, there's a difference between a portrait and a painting. I mean, I could have a likeness of a model, but it wouldn't be the same as a portrait in this case, because to my mind, a portrait needs to kind of try and say something about the person. Whereas if you're using a model and you're just doing a if you're doing a painting of a little girl, it's different. The ways I've tried to convey her personality is, first of all, there's that seriousness, slightly mischievous. When I was painting it, I was reminded of that saying, little girls, sugar and spice, how does that go? Little girls, sugar and spice, sometimes naughty, sometimes nice. I'm not exactly sure, something like that. Anyway, I was thinking of that, and the stare, the hair in the face, the messiness of this little girl is what I'm trying to convey, that she's got some feisty spirit. And this strap here is actually because she broke her arm wrestling with her brother. Anyway, and I'd also like to say a little bit about the technique I use. It's the same technique in most of my figurative painting. And what it is, it's a form of collage. And in this case, a lot of times I use staples. In this case, it's just glued onto a wood panel. And if you look closer, you can see that the canvas that I've used in this collage has a texture. See the little kind of like pock marks that are all over? Those are actually the penetrations that a shotgun shell, the shot from a shotgun shell, made. Now, I didn't shoot the painting. What I did was I shot loose canvas first, and then I cut out pieces of the loose canvas to glue onto this substrate of another canvas and also the wood. And you'll see that when I'm painting, I don't really pay much attention to the reality of the colors. I look at value. So if you look at like her chin, what really is important is the change in value between these colors. It's not, I don't try and make it look like flesh. And also, I like this is a piece of canvas that I had kind of painted some blue on top of like a pink. And I like the erratic randomness, which is really a part of the process. When you're painting canvas first, then you're shooting it, and then you're cutting it up. So there's a real unpredictability about it, which appeals to me. That's about it.
Hello, my name is Santi Kalak. I'm from Malden, Massachusetts. I'm here to present my work, a total of 8 pieces. They are my landscape drawings. These 8 drawings, they are created from a direct observation and with the aid of photographs taken throughout the years. For example, this work, the title is Terrain of Connectivity. It's developed based on a photograph taken during a road trip to Southwest Texas. My sources of inspiration came from the places I have been and the places that I wanted to be. These reference points help me to make connections across reality and imaginations. For this body of work, I use acrylic paint and graphite on wood panels. I would liken my process to weaving. Each graphite line is drawn on the surface slowly and meticulously until the final image emerges. Even though the process is very time-consuming and labor-intensive, but then the process, provide a balance of structures and chaos that is very fulfilling to me. I enjoy the process very much. In presenting my latest landscape drawing, I'm hoping to encourage conversations about the world we live in and to push imaginations into boundless unknowns. Please enjoy my landscape drawings, and thank you very much.
I'm Todd Kiefer from Rehoboth, Massachusetts. I paint mainly in oils. My new paintings are a celebration of serendipity and discovery. So I've always been very interested in rendering form and in particular realism. And my current paintings attempt to depict those same forms, but with a little more freedom, a little more risk, and managing resolved versus unresolved surfaces. Also thinking about both the third and second dimension, working on the surface in a shape-centric way to try to render those forms in different ways, in layers. This painting, Everything Must Go, started as a demonstration for students in my classroom. And it's sort of indicative of my current work, where there are parts that are very resolved and then other parts that are left a little more simplicity. I'm also very interested in pentimenti and seeing those underlying sort of design elements that govern the work and letting them kind of echo through the rest of it, which you can certainly see in this one. Some of that is an act of discovery, and then some of it is very deliberate, where I've always been drawn to sketchbooks, Renaissance drawings, basically unfinished work that I'm trying to sort of celebrate in my own work. My subject matter is very varied. So the thing that unifies this body of work is the process itself and allowing myself to be a little more autotelic and being satisfied with varying degrees of finish.
Hello, my name is John Mahoney. I'm a Brockton-based artist that works as a painter and as a collage artist. A major theme in my work includes an interest in creating spaces that reflect the challenges we face when questioning our knowledge, our belief systems, and the unknown. In order to accomplish this, the first thing that I do is make components or pieces out of paper, many of them. And what I do is I target particular topics. So, for instance, I might use, and some of those are actually abstract and some of them are realistic. So, a topic that I might that I explore is amusement park rides, including Ferris wheels and games of chance. I use religious statues and parts of statues. I use school images, classroom chairs, classroom doors, and you can see some of them within this work itself. And one of the important things in the work is what I call this stylized head, an essential head that I call it, the observer, which represents for me perception and consciousness itself. So what I do is I go into my studio and I work horizontally. I lay out boards and I have paper on those boards, and then I start adding these components together, creating connections and compositions. And eventually I come up with something that's exciting for me visually, and also that has a lot of meaning. The work itself is not rectangular, it's irregular. It has an irregular format, and it's glued together and then eventually mounted on a white surface or a white wall. So I'm very appreciative and thankful for the Attleboro Art Museum for including me in the AIDS Visions exhibition, and for allowing me to share my work. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mary Marley. I've been working in mixed media and collage for the past 15 years, and this is an example of, it's not a figurative landscape, so it's an abstracted landscape that I cut up to show as many different seasons that I can all at once, and incorporating them into ellipses and circles that all relate to each other. So the process is, there's many, 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 many layers on this. I can't really even count how many there are. And I throw together as many things as possible at first. And then I try to wrestle out some kind of order out of the chaos, which is kind of basically what I'm always trying to do. And I try to emphasize certain parts of the composition with strong colors and more concentrated, detailed shapes, and then branch out to more of kind of a disappearing look where things kind of meld into each other. I repeat a lot of shapes. I always repeat circles. I try to bring unity through at least 3 circles. I try to blend them into one. So this, and also I try to be spare with color, except on the parts I really want to emphasize. So this has, this is water, kind of train tracks. So there's a little bit of a journey going on. People see all kinds of things. I never really mean it that way. I'm just more interested in an abstraction of shapes, colors, tone, pattern. I like to incorporate a lot of pattern in there. So it's always trying to balance it because it can look really, really busy. So I try to take things away as I go. So it's a constant process of adding and subtracting as I go along. So this is the most figurative one in this show that I have. This really does look like a landscape to most people. Everything else I have is complete abstraction. There's nothing figurative to it. A lot of times I create my own papers. I paint them. I create a lot of black and white. I'll make it myself, whatever I need. I'll just print it or paint it. I just like to be as freewheeling as possible when I start off and then try to become more and more constrained. So, and I paint on large sheets of paper, rip them up. A lot of this work came from old work because when you feel stuck, it's time to rip it up. So I'll just rip work. Don't get too caught in what I've already done because then you can get really stuck. So I rip it and begin anew and don't get worried about it at all. Once you get worried about little precious things, you can't really move forward. So a lot of these things, if I need it, I'll just make it. I'll print on any kind of paper that I have. I'll print on newspapers, just layer and layer and layer, and then cut. I love this medium. This method embraces everything I love. I love to paint and I love to cut paper. So my knife is really it's really getting quite dull. So that's where this comes from, and it's just a process that I love because it embraces so many things that I like to do.
I'm Ken Moran, and I'm one of this year's 8 Vision artists at the Attleboro Arts Museum. And we've been asked to record a short video about the work and stuff like that. Naturally, they would probably like us to talk about the work that we have hanging. But before I get there, I would like to speak a little bit about what I feel is art and art in general. First of all, I really kind of feel that anyone can make a piece of art, but it's the quality of the work naturally that is going to set you apart. All right. And then the artist's job really is to keep the viewer interested. So essentially, if you are making a piece of art and someone looks at it and goes on to the next piece within about 3 to 5 seconds, you really didn't do a good job. And that's where the idea of composition comes in. And by composition, I mean that you arrange pieces within the picture frame to keep the viewer interested, to keep them discovering new things and constantly looking at the picture. Now, after you've gotten that part down, it's what the picture really represents or the image represents and what it means is what's going to elevate you to a higher level. All right. And then I believe that the most successful pieces of work are a reflection of the time and the circumstances and what was going on in the world at the time. I read somewhere that art happens in a context. So really, if you think about it, the great pieces of work that you look at are really a window into a past time that represents what was important and what was meaningful at that time. And when you think about it also, the history of art is really the history of the world. Okay, so now I want to get to my series of symmetry and surrealism. And it really grew out of a sort of a fascination with the idea of asymmetrical and symmetrical work. Back in college, the art classes, they said that a balanced symmetry, having the same thing on both sides, was boring, but asymmetrical was not. So, I started to think about that, and I went back and looked at all my old photographs and tried to decide what was the one thing in each photograph that made a difference to me, the reason I took the photograph. So then through the magic of Photoshop, I could isolate that, and then I could manipulate it, I could flip it, I could do all sorts of things and start to put those a repetitious or repetition of images together being all the same to create sort of an asymmetrical balance. You know, I would rotate them vertically and horizontally and that kind of stuff. So then I started to work on the idea of how far can I push that idea of taking just as small amount of original images as possible and creating this design. All right, so then I kept working on that, and then at some point I found the one-to-one relationship, that aspect ratio just suggests that it's balanced and it's symmetrical. So I started to just work on that, and that's the way all the pieces in this series have gone since then. So now at some point during a project, any artist will probably say to themselves, well, why am I doing this? What does this mean? And when I look at it and I look at these pieces, I say to myself, well, as I get older, I want, I'm trying to get balance in my life. I think everybody wants to do that. And I want to make my life as simple as possible. And really, these photographs, these images that I've created are sort of an answer to those questions.